Mr. CLA, or I'm sorry, the clerk, if you would tell me which items should go on consent or should be continued.
Madam Chair, you have 7-item agenda, no consent items.
Okay.
All items are
Well, why don't we start with one? Number one.
Item number 1 relates to an EAD grant application for LEA funding. We have staff from EAD, Environmental Affairs Department.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Andy Cow from the Environmental Affairs Department. I'm currently the LEA grant administrator for the department. Every year we are invited by the California Integrated Waste Management Board to apply for this grant on an annual basis. The grant will be used for to help assist the city's local enforcement agency to carry out its duties, assistance buying needed equipment. And the acceptance of this grant does not require any matching funds from the city, nor any obligations, except for to return the unspent funds at the
When
end
would
of the
you
year.
expect to hear when would you expect to hear whether your grant was approved or not?
I'm sorry?
When would you expect to hear whether your application was approved or not?
Our application has been approved already.
Oh,
Usually
okay, great.
we received the grant usually by October, November
Okay.
every year.
All right. Did you have anything you want to add?
Yes, wanted to take a moment to introduce you to a new tool that we have developed along with ITA for information about environmental programs in Los Angeles. As you can see from our display over here, this is our old website. The new tool is a new website. And it sort of looks like it perhaps was born in the 1960s from the flowers. And through the work of our staff and ITA, we've developed a new portal to environmental information for the city of Los Angeles. The website address is www.environmentla.org. And EAD is in the process of also, we have reorganized around our 4 new priorities, or 4 major priorities, which are climate change, which is a button up there at the top, enforcement, sustainability, and also adaptation, which will be added to that, and that would be adaptation to climate change effects. We chose the name Environment LA because we wanted to capture the most likely search criteria for looking for environmental information in Los Angeles, which we have found it has been very successful. It's been up for a couple of weeks now. We're getting quite a few hits and quite a few phone calls asking for additional information. As you can see, this is also the home for green building information. And we've tried to develop this as a seamless portal to environmental programs throughout the city. So there are links to recycling at Bureau of Sanitation programs. There are links to energy and water programs at the Department of Water and Power, in addition to a lot of information about programs within environmental affairs. And as I mentioned, we are in the process of reorganizing. We're going to actually we are using Environment LA as a new nickname for environmental affairs. Rather than try to change all the ordinances that say Environmental Affairs Department, we're creating a nickname which we will are going to start going by in the next couple of weeks. So we just wanted to introduce you to this new tool, and we'd be happy to provide additional information at some other time.
I think it's it's great.
Thank you.
Looks good, really good. Well, thank you, and Mr. Cardenas has joined us. Let's go on to item number 2.
Can we recommend a note and file on
Yeah.
the first item?
Yeah, sorry, note and file.
Item number 2 is a Board of Public Works report relative to refund requests for the overpayment of stormwater pollution abatement funds. We have staff from sanitation.
Do we have staff?
Here.
Anybody here?
Whoa.
Hello.
I guess we don't. Guess we'll have to
Hello.
hold that.
Well, we'll continue this item.
Well,
Okay. Okay.
item number 3.
Yeah.
Board of Public Works report relative to application of grant funds for the state from the State Coast Conservancy. Prop 12 funds. We have staff from sanitation on this one.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Wing Tam with Bureau of Sanitation. This is a request for authority to accept grant funding of $1 million from the State Coastal Conservancy. And this particular program is for Downspout Disconnection program, where we identify a couple areas in Council District 10 and 11 to basically take rainwater from the roof, infiltrate it, or put rain barrels in it. This particular project is a 2-year project at a cost of $1 million, and our long-term goal is basically from this pilot project is to develop standards for citywide implementation. Because of the urgency in terms of getting this contract signed, the State Coastal Conservancy has funding for this particular year that needs to be encumbered by the end of this fiscal year. So we're hoping that, requesting that this authority be approved forthwith to council. Thank you.
Quick question, and how did you arrive at picking council districts 10 and 11, and at what stage would you implement the citywide if you think it's been successful?
This particular area was identified as part of what they call the Bong Creek Watershed Stormwater BMP strategy project report. This was done by the Samak Bay Restoration Commission back in 2005.
So it's tied to the wash, which is part of the Bayona?
That's correct,
Okay.
part of Bong Creek.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And this is the timing for this is that we're going to do a 2-year evaluation, implement it, evaluate it, and then from that evaluation, we're going to come up with a program or standard that could be applied throughout the rest of the city.
Okay. What's your time frame for making those decisions?
Uh,
How long do you want this pilot to run before you find, compile enough information to determine whether it's working to the level that it should work or not?
Correct. We're looking at probably somewhere in 2000 and late 2009 to do the evaluation and produce a report in order to identify if this works or not and how we proceed forward.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Cardenas, you have a
Yeah.
question? Mr. Cardenas.
Now, this will be from July 2008 to the end of June 2010, so 24 months.
That's correct.
Right? Also, I'm looking at my notes, and I don't see any breakdown of how the $1 million is going to be applied. It sounds like there's hard costs. It sounds like there's a lot of research, money going into research and formatting how you're going to evaluate it and track the progress or what have you. How and when are you going to have that breakdown?
We actually have a breakdown. If you like a copy, I could give this to you.
Yeah, did you supply that breakdown to the committee?
Yes, we did. Commission have a copy of this.
You have a copy with you?
Yes.
Could I see it?
Come on up. Thanks.
Looking at the slideshow, it's different.
And then there has a schedule and
Yeah.
where the soft costs and hard costs can come in.
So your residential average retrofit, you're anticipating to be about $875?
That's correct.
Okay, non-residential, about double that?
Right.
And bioretention filtration planters, boxes, rain barrels, close to 2,000. So basically, you're anticipating having over 500 of the smaller projects, which are residential, and then 150 of the other projects?
The right commercial area, correct.
Okay. And it looks like it's about 24% is going to actually go through admin, engineering, project assessment, and reporting.
That's correct.
In general, on something like this, if you were to expand it across the city, what is your expectation of the percentage going down on the admin and engineering and documentation?
Once we go citywide, that would definitely drop down because it is a pilot. We're going to develop a lot of standards evaluation, so I would imagine that it could go down to somewhere around 15%.
15%?
Yeah.
Okay. I respect and understand that when you're doing a pilot project, the percentage is much, much higher. As a matter of fact, private industry is used to expending sometimes tens of millions of dollars, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars, just to find out if something's going to work before they actually start to create and implement the prototype and then do the mass production. So in a city of 4 million people, what do we have, over 1 million residences all told or something like that?
That's correct. There's about a little bit under 900 parcels in the city. 900,000. So you're right.
Yeah, but actual residences, you're talking about, you might have a parcel that has 100 units on it.
That's correct.
300 units.
Right.
So it's, in excess of 1 million residential units, this is definitely an investment that's well worth it. Why is it that they decided to do this project in this particular area relative to Bayona Creek watershed?
This came out of a task force that was formed back about 5 years ago from the San Monica Bay Commission. That encompassed
Which commission?
Santa Monica.
the San Monica Restoration Commission.
Santa Monica Bay Conservation Commission.
They produced a report outlining these are two areas as a higher priority area to pilot test.
Bayona runs through both of them, and through Culver City, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, my frustration is representing the Northeast San Fernando Valley. A lot of the great organizations that are actually doing wonderful things to try to infiltrate the mess we're making of our environment tend to be on the west side of town. So far, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well-
Well, this is connected to Herb's district, and Bayona comes, sort of bisects it.
Yeah, it just geographically is where it is. But-
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll, note and file or receive?
Actually, on this one, it's recommend approve.
Oh, recommend approval. Okay, great, thank you. Number 4, yeah.
Board of Public Works report relative to the implementation plan for the residential food scrap collection pilot program. We have staff from sanitation.
Okay, who's going to speak?
Good morning, Jorge Santiesteban with the Bureau of Sanitation, and this item is in response to a request from Council for the Bureau of Sanitation to implement a pilot food waste collection program, and Bernadette Halverson is the project manager, and she will present the report.
Great.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair Jan Perry and Councilman Cardenas. My name is Bernadette Halverson of the Bureau of Sanitation. I am excited to let you know that we are launching a residential food scrap collection pilot program this coming September in selected neighborhoods within North Central and South LA districts. Food scraps include kitchen leftovers as well as food soiled paper products such as paper napkins, paper bags, and even greasy pizza boxes. Now, why recycle food scraps? Food scrap is the largest residential waste stream in the city. According to the waste characterization study that was conducted in 2000, about 27% of the material that goes to the garbage is food scrap.
Wait a minute, 27% that goes into the black bin, right?
Yeah,
Not 27% of the entire garbage.
No, just the one that goes into the black bin is food scrap.
Okay, so it's the largest percentage of the black bin.
Yes.
The
And so
largest that remains in the black bin.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not the largest percentage of overall waste coming
Not
from residential.
overall waste, I'm sorry for that.
Yeah.
So by recycling food scraps, we help fulfill the council directive that was issued in August 2005, mandating sanitation that to lessen its dependence on Sunshine Canyon landfill. Now, by also recycling food scraps, we help achieve the city's zero waste goal as well as the Mayor's Green LA initiative to increase diversion rate to 70% by year 2015. Now, in light of all these goals, sanitation is eager to start a pilot this September. It will be for 1 year, and it will end in August the following year. We have selected about 8,700 households in council districts 1, 8, 9, 10, and 15.
Which ones, how many?
About 8,700 households.
Okay. Go over the council districts again. It was 1.
5 council districts, 1, 8, 9, 10, and 15.
Their waste goes to that particular facility.
Okay.
Yeah. So the cost of this pilot is about $140,000 and no impact on general fund. Part of this budget will be used to purchase this kitchen pail, as you see here, which we'll be using to collect the kitchen scraps.
What will the cost of that pail be? Do you know?
It's $580,
Okay.
including the artwork that you see here, as well as the informational material on top, which informs resident what they can and cannot put inside this pail. Now, the contents of this pail will be emptied into the green bin, which we currently use to collect the yard trimmings. And then the green bin is set out at the curbside for weekly collection. So the program is very easy. It's really as easy as 1, 2, 3. As you can see here, 1 is to collect, 2 is to empty the contents into the green bin, and 3 is to set out the green bin out at the curbside. Now, our sanitation trucks will collect this at the curbside, haul it to Clark's for transfer to a permitted facility to process the food waste out in Lamont.
Quick question. Do you think this represents a potential new source of revenue for the city?
If we have a market for right now, the compost will be, the contractor's product, so it's not really a source of revenue for us. We actually pay the fee to dispose this material to their facility for processing.
Has the department given any thought to perhaps pricing the pails in such a manner that it might generate some additional revenue for us, as opposed to costing us?
This pail, ma'am?
Yeah, to make some money on the program as opposed to just paying out money?
The cost of the pails, we have, because it's a pilot program, we have assumed that we want the residents to recycle, so we haven't done that. We can certainly look into
And let me just
that.
make a suggestion to you, and then Mr. Cardenas, just a suggestion to you. As you go through the pilot program, why don't you try to review it from the perspective of if there is some opportunity there for us to generate revenue, if it proves to be there, if there is proven to be a market for this, and if people embrace it, why don't you incorporate that into your strategy so you can come back? How long is your pilot program?
It's 1 year.
1 year.
All right, well, maybe let's talk in 6 months and see how it's going. Have you come back in 6 months and tell us how it's going, and then see if you might want to revise your strategy once the pilot ends. Mr. Cardenas.
Yeah, and on that note, if you could report back and let us know how the market is changing, because my understanding is when it comes to green waste and or food waste, the biggest bottleneck is the connection between the final end user of the products and the amount that we're actually generating. That connection is still not being made enough to where the third parties that are actually doing this work for us and we're paying them to do it, they don't necessarily have a stable market on the back end. It's sometimes they may do well and they dispose of all of it and get paid for it, and then sometimes it might stockpile or they may have to give it away or what have you. If you could report back on that, how the market is maturing on that.
That's part of the results that we'd like to investigate as part of the pilot program, because currently we don't think that there is enough capacity if we were to implement the program citywide to collect all the food waste.
230,000 tons of food scraps in addition to what we're already putting in the green.
Exactly. So those are the things that we like to investigate, and we will certainly, our idea was at the end of the year, take a look at everything that we have found and report back.
Okay, well, let's have an interim report in 6 months and see how it's going.
Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
Now, $140,000, that's really good to see that we're able to implement this with such a low figure. But at the same time, doesn't this come into like bonds that have to do with the environment and things of that nature? Couldn't we ask the state to help pick up this or reimburse us for this program?
We
can investigate that, look for other source of financing, as long as we can feasibly, show these agencies that it can be done in a environmental and sustainable manner, then we can probably solicit funding from other sources.
We're always looking at ways to either go from grants from the Department of Conservation, the California Integrated Waste Management Board, to try to maximize our revenue, and we will continue to do
Now,
that.
when it comes to grants, do you, within your own department, go seek these grants, or do you go through the mayor's office? Because my understanding under the new charter, it's the mayor's office that actually spearheads all of these grant proposals. You do it directly from the department or through the mayor's office?
The process that we follow, a lot of the grants need council approval. And they have to go through a resolution.
Sure.
We go to the Board of Public Works, we come to this committee, and then it goes to full council to receive council approval, because as part of the grant application, we need council approval. So it's a combination of council and mayor's approval.
But I'm talking about the steps before that. The work and energy it takes to even have people sit down and say, let's find sources for grants. Let's find who would like us to fill out the forms necessary for the grants. Who does that? Does that come out of the department? Does that portion get done by the department or the mayor's office?
The department.
The department. Okay. Well, also in your report, let us know what sources of funds there could be should we implement this citywide.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, on the green bins today, is it recommended or appropriate for residential users of our green bins to put their food waste in now? We want them to, we really don't want them to, they can decide if they want to or not. What's the situation now outside this pilot program?
The situation right now outside this pilot program, if they have, for example, fruits in their backyard, if they have peach trees, citrus trees, and all that, we do not discourage our residents to put any of those fruits.
Fruit foods go in the
Exactly.
green bin today,
That's
regardless of the pilot program.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then meat products, like say, the
Leftovers from meal
leftover
preparation.
scraps,
yes,
chickens,
yes.
bones, things of that nature.
Yeah, it will
Today,
be.
absent this program,
We
today.
do not encourage that, we discourage that.
Oh, okay. And the reason why?
The reason that why is because a lot of vectors that could create odors, vectors, and potential issues with processors.
Okay, now that leads to my next question, being that I have landfills and processing plants in my district, processing facilities in my district. What would be the difference between the traditional green bin waste of today versus the green waste through this pilot program and/or the future if we start having everybody put food waste in there?
Right now, our green material is going to facilities that are permitted just to handle yard trimmings.
Yeah, but in a
Well,
nutshell, these
yeah.
are open air facilities, basically.
Yeah.
They could be closed, but not required, right? They're mostly open air facilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if we put food waste in there, is the odor level likely to go up?
No, actually, we visited a food processing facility out in Lamont. It's an open air, and they have been doing that for so many years, and no complaints of odor from the neighborhood.
How close are the neighbors? Because the facilities in my district have neighbors like from here to the corner of the room.
It's not
Lamont is a
really. It's
pretty
not
sparse
really.
place.
Yeah, it's not really that. That's why. Yeah.
There are few neighbors at
There
that
are few.
facility.
So my next question is, if we were to go, well, the facility that this pilot program is going to go to.
To
the
that
green
permitted
bins, is that-
facility.
Do you know if that's open space facility or closed?
The
It's
facility, the reason that we have selected these council districts and this area is because in order to maximize our operation costs, we're going to receive the yard trimmings in this and the food waste, and we're going to take it to our transfer station. From that transfer station, which is an enclosed facility, is going to be transported to Lamont.
Okay.
So we are, first of all, trying to reduce the handling of this material to maximize costs and avoiding any potential odor complaints because it just goes to an enclosed facility and then goes to the processing
So
facility.
on your report back, what I'd like to see, especially since this would affect my district, if we were to allow food materials to go into an open air facility like I have right now for green waste. In the report back, please start to outline and make recommendations of what types of facilities, if we were to do this long-term, what types of facilities in basin we would need them to be, and what kind of, what enclosed or not enclosed, negative air pressure or not, things of that nature. And then also, if you can get some information about what the odor levels are, not just in what we're doing, but just in the industry in general, because food waste in green bins is already happening in other parts of the world and other parts of the country. So that, we would need that in the report back as well.
Is Van Nuys
So-
closed? Van Nuys is closed? Is it closed or open? Where is it?
Oh, no, not in Van Nuys, Sun Valley, they're open.
Okay.
They're open.
Great.
Various
open.
facilities in Sun Valley, they're open.
Great. We've also been joined by Mr. Alarcon. Did you have anything further to add?
No.
Okay. All right, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have 3 people, so we can actually recommend approval.
If you'd like to, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to go? Oh, sorry. One other thing, Mr. Garcetti had inquired regarding Council District 13, Silver Lake area. If you can meet with his office and follow up with him?
I will certainly do that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, and then do we need to go back over, we're only on item 4, so why don't we, you want to go back and,
Item number 1,
yeah.
a
Okay.
note and file.
Yeah.
Right, number 1. Number 2, continue. Number 3, approve. And number 4, we haven't taken an
Yeah,
action on
great.
yet.
All right, well, if there's no objection, we'll go ahead and make recommendations on all of those.
Okay.
Great,
You okay with number 3?
okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
Now,
accepting some prop twelve money.
Item
Number
number 4
5.
is a
Oh.
motion.
yeah. Motion,
Parks West and Perry relative to the Bureau's ongoing and planned odor control efforts for the North Outfall replacement sewer.
okay, who's here to report on that?
Just
Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge Santizo, with the Bureau of Sanitation. This motion instructs the Bureau to report to City Council in 30 days relative to their ongoing and planned odor control efforts in the Baldwin Hills area for the North Outfall replacement sewer, and to conduct a study and review the feasibility of implementing either of these 2 proposed design changes. Unfortunately, we do not have staff here.
Okay.
Uh,
You want to continue this, we'll continue this item for
And I will make sure,
next meeting?
that we have staff at the next meeting.
I do appreciate it. All
Any
right.
other instructions before that?
No, we need a staff report. Yeah. Let's do it at the next meeting. I
Thank
don't
you.
know what happened today, but they're not here for this item and the earlier item.
I will make sure we have
Thank you.
staff.
Appreciate it. And then 6,
number 6, DWP report requesting authority to amend and extend its master services contract with Southern California Gas Company.
okay, who's here on that?
Staff from DWP and the CAO.
Great.
Madam Chair, council members, Randy Howard, LADWP, we're asking for approval on an ordinance that would provide a delegation of authority for procuring natural gas services that we use for the purposes of fueling our power plants, our natural gas power plants in the basin. LADWP happens to be the single largest retail natural gas customer in the state, so we transport a lot of gas. We have services through the Southern California Gas Company. They have been given that through a regulatory process. The rates and the terms and conditions under which we get the service is regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. What we're seeking here is every 2 years we have to renew this master services agreement. The process is because this has been ongoing for many, many years, we come back to City Council. Each time we're seeking the delegation that our board could just approve this. Again, these are contracts and terms and conditions are set by the CPUC. It's not a negotiated type of transaction.
Which includes length of time for the master agreement?
That's correct.
I don't know whether that cuts in our favor or not, given the volatility of the fuels market. What is your opinion on that?
This is indifferent to the volatility of the fuels market because we procure our own fuel. This is only for the transportation when we get it to the SoCal gas system, and they transport it for us. We have separate agreements related to interstate interest. This is an intrastate. We have across state boundaries into the gas fields. We have separate agreements that are not regulated. This is a regulated tariff condition. So again, we don't have the luxury of negotiating. What we are seeking as well are some changes we've been working on, and that would be related to, as we integrate more renewables into our system, we need some new tools, and we need to be able to implement those tools relatively quickly. Those would be things like parking. If we procured more gas than we need because the wind's blowing hard, and we're not going to burn as much gas at our power plants, we need a place to put our gas. And so the tariff allows for some parking services. We've never used those before. There are some other, if the wind all of a sudden stops blowing and we did not procure, because we have to schedule this gas daily, we can take a loan and then repay the gas company.
Go back over the definition of parking.
Parking would be, there's a couple components, but parking would be on a day that we have scheduled more gas in, we believe we're going to have a certain load on our electrical system, we're going to burn so much gas. All of a sudden, winds blowing heavily both Pacific Northwest, Utah, Wyoming, and in our field out here in Mojave Desert, we're going to back down our gas power plants. We're going to have excess gas. Two ways we can deal with it. One would be to park it on the gas company's system. Their system is so large, we just leave it on their system, we don't burn it, and we have to burn it in the next couple of days. Or right now, what we tend to do is we'll just resell it in the market. We'll go.
Is that wheeling, or what's wheeling?
Wheeling is just that you're just moving it across their system. They're wheeling it for you. We might procure gas, not need it. We just use their system to then sell it to, say, the city of Anaheim or to the Department of Airports or some other entity that needs to purchase gas. We just resell it. We use their system as a wheeling.
And loaning?
Loaning would be that when we didn't schedule sufficient gas, we don't have gas, say, in storage to use, we need a short-term additional increment of gas. Instead of going to the market and procuring it, we just draw it. We just use it, burn it, and they account for it, and so it's a loaning, and then we're going to repay that loan in the next couple of days. We're going to schedule additional gas into the system.
Give back?
And give it back.
Okay, great. And then, is this a sole source contract?
Yes, it is.
And tell us how you arrived at that.
Yeah. There are no other providers of that service. They have the regulated service territory, just like LADWP has the service territory to serve.
Granted franchises. Okay. All right, Mr. Alarcon, do you have any questions? Okay. Okay. All right, great. Well, then we'll recommend approval. All right, thank you. Last item is 7.
Number 7, DWP report requesting authority to enter into power purchase agreement with MWD for renewable hydroelectric energy.
Okay, you can do that.
Madam Chair, Randy Howard, what we're seeking is your approval for an agreement with Metropolitan Water District for a small hydroelectric system that is currently operating in the San Fernando Valley. They currently sell all the output of this facility to Southern California Edison. They were a respondent to our renewable RFP, and we entered into negotiations. This contract is a result of those negotiations. It's 15 years, 2 months. They will sell us the entire output of this small hydro facility. It will meet about 0.2% of our RPS objectives. Once this agreement is approved, LADWP will be a little over 13% of renewables that have been signed under contract and are currently being constructed.
Is this intended to support a base load or a peak?
This is, the primary purpose of this hydro facility is to serve water to MWD customers. The secondary purpose is the ability to generate the electricity. It will offset base load purposes because it's scheduled, meaning that it's not an intermittent like when the wind blows. They will know when they're going to be able to generate electricity and not. So we will count it more as a base load facility.
Have you also given consideration to the ongoing drought conditions statewide, and whether or not the city will be in a position to derive full benefit of this acquisition or not?
We only pay as they deliver,
Okay.
so we do not pay anything if they do not deliver. So if there are severe drought conditions that would limit the production out of this facility, we would not pay for any additional. We only pay if they can produce. We do see some of the impacts on our own hydroelectric system due to drought. This year appears to be fairly normal for us for the production of electricity. Last year, we saw a significant reduction in electricity produced because of the drought. We'll continue to monitor that and obviously find other resources as needed if the drought was to persist.
Do you know how much closer this brings us to achieving our renewable goals of 20% by 2010? Have you calculated that yet?
This contract?
Yeah.
This is 0.2%
Okay.
of our goal.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah,
Mr.
definitely.
Cardenas?
What is the kilowatt cost of this energy when you break it down?
The kilowatt cost, I think we listed there as a megawatt hour cost of $91, a little over $91. So that would be equate on a kilowatt, obviously, to about 9.1 cents per kilowatt hour.
And what is our blended rate right now for energy at DWP, roughly to the nearest penny?
To the nearest penny,
Yeah.
with the recent rate increase that was approved, I think we're just a little over 10 cents.
Just over 10 cents?
Yes.
Over 10 cents. Weren't we like half that 5 years ago?
When I was rates manager, we were about 9.4.
9.4?
Correct.
And what's our cheapest energy right now?
Our lowest cost energy are the hydro facilities associated both with our aqueduct and the Hoover Dam, and they are approximately 2 cents per
2 cents.
kilowatt hour.
So 2 cents and the facilities that we got the rights to decades ago, and 9.1 cents on the facilities that we're going to negotiating with.
Today, before I came over, I looked at what's my production cost of natural gas today at in-basin generating facilities. We are about, our cheapest natural gas production today is about $96 per megawatt hour, or 9.6 cents. And our highest on our peaker plants today is almost 13 cents.
13.
Because natural gas costs have gone up almost 200% in the last year and a half for us.
Mhm. And when it comes to our hydro plants, what's the carbon footprint on the hydro plants?
We have zero carbon footprint. We negotiated to have all the environmental attributes associated with this production brought back to the Department of Water and Power, including the greenhouse gas offsets that would be associated and any renewable credit value.
So for all intent and purpose, this is our power now, once we do this. So
That is
our
correct.
power, we pay for it, we get all the credit for it being clean energy, et cetera, et cetera.
That is correct.
Okay,
And it
so-
will offset higher emitting resources.
Now, we're at about, you said just above 13% renewable?
Once this would be approved, we would be approximately 13%. That's assuming the pine tree comes on. We should start seeing production as early as October from our pine tree.
What percentage does Pine Tree bring to our portfolio?
A pine tree is about 1.7% of our portfolio.
Okay. Can you, when you come to council with this, we need to see how we arrived at 13+%?
I have brought that today, if you would like.
Can you hand it over to the committee, please?
Do you have enough copies?
When it comes to this carbon footprint is basically zero.
That is correct.
Now, but when it comes to our, for example, our gas-fired plants, what's our carbon footprint there? I mean, what do we, by some measurement, our standard measurement?
Our current carbon footprint for the gas power plants, the state is seeking us to, currently on gas, their standard would be about 1,100 pounds per megawatt hour. Our system average, because of our coal resources, is above 1,300 pounds per megawatt hour. So to put that in relation, an Intermountain Power plant is about 1,900 pounds per megawatt hour. Our Navajo power plant is about 2,100 pounds per megawatt hour. Our most efficient natural gas, say our Valley Generating Station after it was repowered, is approximately 800 pounds per megawatt hour. So on a blended average, our system is a little over 1,300.
So basically, from 1900 on our dirtiest plants, Navajo's our dirtiest, but when you look at the carbon footprint issue, it goes from 1900 to 800. So basically, we've cut it down to less than half, the carbon footprint between our older facilities to our gas.
That's the difference between the coal and the natural gas. Our highest natural gas, our oldest gas plants are closer to the 1,200 pounds range.
When you say our older, those weren't retrofitted?
Not yet. There are plans. We are working towards the repowering of all of the older facilities.
Okay. And the interesting thing about it is when you look at the 20% standard that we're trying to reach in our portfolio of clean energy, that particular percentage, if we get to 20%, does not speak to the rest of our energy, right? What our average carbon footprint is.
It will assist us. It is part of.
It'll lower the
It's
overall.
part of our plan to reduce our overall greenhouse gases by 35%
And to
by
date,
2030.
we still let our bouncing around 49-50% of our energy is coming from coal plants,
Approximately 47%.
47%. And then what percentage is coming from our gas?
Currently, gas is about 36%.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, great. Recommend approval on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report. That marks the end of our agenda. This is the time for public comment for those who would like to speak on an item which is not on the agenda. I don't have any cards. Don't see anyone coming forward. So the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.